It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Do you love the Tabernacle Choir? This year, the choir's music is everywhere you are. Listen to your favorite choir songs and music and the spoken word anytime you want on Alexa by simply enabling the skill.
Alexa, play music in the spoken word.
Now playing music in the spoken word.
You can also download the Tabernacle Choir app, subscribe to the choir on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and have access to all their wonderful music. Happy listening.
DJ and PK, it is time to take a dive into the NBA draft. What will happen Sunday, 1 o'clock? The draft lottery, it all gets sorted out, and then we can start figuring out which teams like which players. Matt Babcock joins us, NBA and draft analyst for Babcock Hoops. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
We're doing well. A lot of anticipation here. Jazz fans watch BYU's A.J. DeBonsa play well all year long. It's pretty much unanimous. Everybody here wants A.J. DeBonsa and the number one pick. Is it unanimous across the country in your mind, or are there some holdouts who are looking at somebody else?
There's been a lot of debate all year. I think with DeBonsa, Peterson, Boozer, and as you guys saw all year with A.J., he's just really earned it. He's kind of chipped away at everybody, and I think – across the board, I think he's the number one guy. I think you probably have some scouts here and there that might have Peterson or Boozer, but if I were to bet on it, I think DeBonsa is going to go number one regardless of who wins the lottery.
Yeah, and we're hoping that the Jazz win for their sakes, but odds are against them, obviously, I guess, as they are for every team. So if they should draft a little later, we talk about the top three being DeBonsa, Peterson, Boozer, but how about 4 through 7? Who do you like?
Well, I think Caleb Wilson's probably in the mix with that top tier as well. And what's interesting with those top four guys, they're all very different. And going, looking at that 5 to 8 range, and then looking at the Jazz and what they have in place already, I would imagine there's some interesting internal conversations, specifically because there's so many guards. And how do they see Keontae George, taking the next steps in his development? Because this past year, even though the team struggled, he really elevated his play, and he did that as a primary ball handler. And so, I'd be asking myself with guys like Kingston Fleming or Darius Acuff, who are both, very much on-ball guards, do they coexist well long-term? And so it might lead him to a guy like Keaton Wagler, who's more of like a 6'6" on-ball, off-ball type combo guard, or a Braden Burries at Arizona. But the bulk of that group is guards.
That's an interesting thought there, who fits, because don't teams get in trouble deciding who fits? Isn't it just take the best player? And if you have players who duplicate each other and really don't fit on the court well together, guys are missing a lot of games. Maybe guys shouldn't play as many minutes so they don't miss as many games. Maybe there's a way to do it, and if there isn't, can't you make a trade, especially with guys who are on rookie contracts?
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely a fair point, and I definitely think if there's a clear-cut best prospect available in the front office's mind, they should probably go with that player. I think in this year's draft in that range, it's close. I'd be open to an argument of rearranging that order a bunch of different ways. It's just a very talented group. This freshman class is really incredible. And keep in mind, with all the craziness of college basketball and NIL and the transfer portal, these teams are older and well put together. And this freshman class kind of just steamrolled through things, which is really impressive. So my point being is this class is really, really good.
With that in mind, and it's just a projection, so obviously we can't hold you to it, but how many All-Stars would you say would be in this draft?
That's obviously a tough thing to say. I think there's probably – I think the top 10, I think all of these players have All-Star potential. Are all of them going to click on all cylinders? Of course not. But I would imagine we have at least several, if not more.
You mentioned that you thought Caleb should be considered with that top 3 group. I was wondering if there was a top three. He was 4, and then there was a group after that. But if he was really locked into that 4 spot, if he were to move up a spot or two, who moves behind him and who are you dropping down? Or who do you think teams are dropping down and why?
I think it would be. I think every team's going to look at it slightly differently. If I were to bet on it, I think Boozer would probably be the guy to slip. And when I say slip, we're talking about slipping like one pick. But I do think Caleb Wilson does have a lot of fans. I mean, his combination of he's 6'10", he's freakishly athletic and very versatile. I think his upside is just very, very high. And so right now the Jazz are penciled in at number 4. That's the guy I have them taking if they were to get that spot.
I've always thought, going back many years, John Calipari knows NBA talent, and he's talked about how when he was at Kentucky, they listed the amount of money that his players were earning. Well, now obviously he's moved over to Arkansas. I didn't watch them a lot, as much as I would watch a Kentucky team. So I'm wondering what you think of Acuff, because I just look at Calipari's guys in the NBA, and he seems to have a lot of them who are good.
Derek Acuff is a very talented player. I mean, another freshman that just had an incredible year. I mean, averaged, I think, 20-some points a game as a true freshman. And, the issue I would have with him, if I'm looking at it from a Utah perspective, is he's only about 6'2". He's just okay on the defensive end. Going back to, coexisting with Keontae George, we got 2, pretty much scoring guards that aren't known for the defensive end. That would be my concern, but the guy is a very talented offensive player, really good with the ball in his hands, creating, and he's a good shooter as well.
It seems like you get to this second group, you can always look at the negative. Wagler was just off the radar, second-round pick. I don't know what. He was way out on the – I mean, it's like he came from last place to win the Kentucky Derby and to move here into the top 6. Acuff, people question his defense. With Wilson, there's a question about three-point shooting. Are there any of these that you're willing to dismiss? Because it looks like these are the things that are maybe dragging each one of these guys, or might be dragging these guys down in the eyes of some of the teams. Are any of them you think can be dismissed, or are some of those serious concerns?
I'm not overly concerned with anything, too much as far as these guys being guys I wouldn't mess with. I think the guys that are projected in the top 10 or lottery, I think it's, a lot of this is weighing out the pros and cons of each player and projecting what they'll become in the next few years. Again, just a really talented group. I'm expecting big things for this class. And so I know I'm not answering your question directly here. No red flags in this group to me.
Wonder what you think of Richie Saunders. He was a dynamic player, but he got himself injured there fairly late in the season, so I don't know if he'd be ready. But as far as him being a second-round pick, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm expecting him to get drafted. It was devastating when he learned of his injury. He did such a great job of developing and continuing to get better, and really was playing him heavily into the draft mix. And I think one thing to keep in mind is with the current landscape of college basketball, these guys with college eligibility, remaining, most of them are going back to school. I think the sort of sweet spot is if a guy's not in the top 20. It probably makes sense to go back and cash in on NIL and continuing to develop. And with that said, I think the depth of this draft will be pretty weak, which will help Richie's case quite a bit.
We've got a couple of international players in the NBA who've won multiple MVP awards, and they've each won a championship, and they were both really off the radar when it was draft time, middle of the first round, second round, with Giannis and with the Joker. So with that in mind, I know this isn't supposed to be a very good international prospect class. Just looking at mock drafts, Kareem Lopez playing in New Zealand seems to be the most thought-of guy. Is there anybody there who catches your eye that we should keep an eye on? Or as advertised, is this just not a good international group this year?
Yeah, it's definitely down from an international perspective. And one thing is a lot of these international players are coming over and playing in college, and so there's less guys going to be in the draft. And so I think just the player pool in general has just sort of been trimmed down because of that. Kareem Lopez definitely, in my book, is the top international prospect. A couple of international guys that did play in college, I think are getting quite a bit of love as well. Hans Steinbach from a German kid who played at Washington this year, really talented player. Adain Mara from Spain, who won the championship with Michigan this year. There's a few of them, but I think moving forward, I think most of these top international players are going to come through the college ranks.
Is age a negative factor in that if you stay in college a year or two, or in the case of the Michigan kid, all 4 years, is that something that you knock them for? Do you think NBA executives knock them on?
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it. I mean, I think if you're looking from a projection standpoint, the older the player is, theoretically, there was probably some limited upside as far as how much more room for growth is there. So it changes the evaluation in the sense of, okay, is this guy ready to play and contribute right away? And so, like with Axel Lindenberg, who you're referring to, he's I think he's almost 24 years old.
Right.
And so when you're evaluating him, okay, it's got to be more of like, okay, what is he right now? What can he contribute day one and within the first couple of years, rather than him being a 3, 4 year, 5 year project.
Matt Babcock joining us, NBA and draft analyst for Babcock Hoops. I'd be remiss if we didn't ask you a little bit about the playoffs. Are you one of the people who picked the Thunder to repeat, or are you looking at somebody to knock them off?
Yeah, I think they're going to be tough to beat. I mean, there's just so much depth, and they're a well-oiled machine on both ends of the ball. And having a guy like Shea who's gets you a big bucket when needed. And I'm thinking OKC. This is probably theirs to lose.
How accurate do you think is to say, now we know we've got this group here coming in the 26th draft, right? And we've seen them play a whole year in college for the guys who are freshmen. And then we just talked about a couple of guys that have played longer. So we can have a little bit more of an accurate feel for it. But we hear a certain draft in the future. Let's just use 27 as an example. Oh, that might not be a good draft. How much do you buy the accuracy of being able to predict 1 or 2 years down the line in terms of which draft would be better or not as good?
Yeah, I mean, we spend a lot of time evaluating at the high school level. I think the expectation across the board is that the draft next year is not going to be quite as good. But I mean, there's always guys that kind of develop later, and things happen. So I don't think it's a situation where we're write it off completely. But I think it's probably more of a situation where everybody's just so excited about this draft, and it just would be hard to compare. Not even just next year, but any draft compared to this one. I mean, this might be the most talented lottery group I've evaluated.
Matt, we'll leave it right there. Thanks so much. We appreciate you joining us and bring us up to date on the draft.
Hi, thanks so much.
There it is, PK. Best draft class he has seen, so that's why you got to tank for a 4th year in a row to make sure you get in on that and get one of those good players. 10 potential All-Stars. It never, as he pointed out, it never always develops that way, but that's a lot of people with a lot of potential and a lot of high ceilings. Get the right one.
I mean, something we've been hearing about, and we got to see it up close with DeBonsa. That was a lot of fun. Glad that he came to BYU, obviously. We'll see what this Bruce Branch does in this next basketball season and where he ends up going in the 27 draft, assuming that he's good enough and would go out there. But that's what they say. It's not a certainty, but the more folks who say it leads to some credibility in that. And we got so many people doing this. The Babcocks, the whole family is into this. I mean, they start, if you go look back, I think it's his uncle and his father. They were high school teachers and coaches in the Phoenix area, and they started sending stuff out years ago, and then it's developed into this, and this is one of the groups that does this, and they basically do it full time. And so when you're devoting all this energy, nothing is for sure. I've got to state that. But I've always felt like basketball is the one where you can have the predictions come closer to the truth, knowing that it's not even necessarily 100%. I mean, we've had number 1 picks bust, number 2 picks bust. I mean, you can go down the list, right? I mean, the Jazz taking Cantor, that didn't work. And I think he was number 3, right? And that just did not stick. And we know of other guys who were later in the draft. I said this earlier, that it's amazing to me that it looks like Sam Merrill is going to have having a better NBA career than Jimmer Fredette. Who would have thought that? You know, and that's not a knock on Jimmer. It's more about Sam being able to stick and be a critical player on a 50-win team that has a chance to get to the finals. I think you got to put Cleveland in that mix as far as having a chance. To, at least if it's a long shot or whatever, it's up to you to decide, and we'll see how it plays out on the court. But that's just an example of someone who wasn't receiving a ton of buzz through the draft, gets drafted. I think he was the last pick, wasn't he? In a second round when it was his time to be drafted, and here he is, still playing, not just on a roster, but playing. So you never really know, but I do feel confident that this draft, particularly for my own sake, is because I've watched these top guys now, and with the advent of these all-star games and these televised games that they put on for high school kids who've been watching these kids for a good while. And so I think that it's probably going to be true. And the Jazz have an opportunity to get a really good player. That's the most important thing.
I think that point about Richie Saunders is well taken, too. A lot of guys who might have come out after a sophomore or junior year and rolled the dice to be a second-round pick, figuring this is as hot as I'm going to be. Now the logic is take the NIL money. So the guys who are out of eligibility at the end of 4 or 5 years, to see them come into the draft and see what kind of a chance they have to get picked and what kind of chance they have to make a team, it's a different look and feel to the draft than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, to be sure.
I'm not sure I buy that, because you look at the projected first-round picks, and you've got a freshman that's listed, and I'm looking at NBADraft.net, you've got a freshman at 29, a freshman at 28, Koa Pete, who played for the U of A. We remember him as a powerful player underneath. Looking at that, he's listed, let me see, for what it's worth. I mean, who's to say that this is what it's going to be? But he's listed at 27. And, you do have some sophomores. But
I don't think Saunders I don't think Saunders is going to that area, do you?
No.
I was thinking more Saunders at like pick 45, 50,
oh, yeah,
55.
Yeah, but I see all these freshmen.
That's where the door's open.
Okay, sure, on there, but how many of those guys came out in the first place? Second rounders. Were they really coming out before?
Well, I'd have to go back and look and run the numbers and give me something to do. But I think that the second round and late second round, you started to find the guys who'd been in school 2 and 3 years. I think those are the guys who are coming back. I'm with you. At the top of the draft, those top 20, 25, 30 picks, maybe even early in the second round, there's still freshmen coming out. There's just so much money, and to get the whole clock started, to get onto the second contract and all that stuff. But I don't think Saunders is moving up. I think where the door is open for him is in the last 15 picks in the draft.
Right, but those guys that are at the end, they can get their clock started, but it doesn't mean it's going to actually start. That they're going to get a second contract.
No, they may not make the team. Yeah, he's still got to make the team, and second-round picks still get cut and sent to the G League and two-way deals and all that. So, yeah, getting drafted is just the start of it. It's not the end of it.
And I wonder, a kid like Koa Pete, I was surprised he's that low, and I wonder if he wants to come back, because these guys still have the opportunity to come back, right?
Yeah, he can. The combine's coming up later this week, and then next week is the withdrawal deadline. Pete's pretty heavily rumored to be thinking about going back.
So what you're saying, there's still a chance for DeBonsa to come back?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance?
That's where I was going with that. I think there's zero chance for him, because obviously he will be on a roster next season, and whoever drafts him, there will be tickets sold because of him. That team will make money off of him, and then we get him into their system and get him in the community, and they're going to see, wow, for a kid who has such incredible talent and hype, he's a humble kid. And he's going to represent your organization very well in a lot of different ways. We'll see.
Somebody's going to be really
you're
excited.
telling me there's a
Town is
chance.
going to be, here, obviously. Yeah! Other places.
Devontae coming back. I don't see that. But, what a dream scenario. It's a Hollywood scenario to where he gets drafted by the Jazz and plays here for 15 years. That would be the greatest story since the team actually moved.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We've covered a lot of ground this morning. We will get to all of it coming up next, expanding the college football playoff, the spring football tour through Kansas, the NBA draft, the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. It's all coming up. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCote.
Joining us now, Big 12 Radio, one of our favorites, Ari Temkin.
Much of their plan around next season and being the favorites of the Big 12 depended upon Sorsby being the starting quarterback. Looks like Will Hammond, who tore his ACL last year, is going to be the starting quarterback for them. To me, I'm operating under the assumption that Sorsby will not be playing quarterback for Texas Tech and will not be playing college football again. I was arguing that even with Sorsby, BYU should be in the conversation with what they bring back. I mean, Tech has a ton of talent, but BYU brings back significantly more players. I think without Sorsby, BYU is firmly in that favorite discussion. I think Houston, too, based again on what they bring back. Arizona's another team that should factor into the top of the conference. I think you can make the case that both Arizona and Utah should also be in that conversation.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Time for the Slacker Radio headlines, brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN 1-1-855-TRAJAN1, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com.
Okay.
You listen to Lucas, you think there's a former Dallas Maverick executive somewhere sitting there shaking his head saying, see, I knew it. Not
what?
in great shape, doesn't stay healthy, now he's missing the playoffs.
That justifies trading him for Anthony Davis?
Nope.
A guy who's
But I still
less
wonder if
healthy?
there's someone sitting there shaking his head somewhere going, see?
I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I think he's a franchise player. He got him to the finals with a ragtag team. It's unfortunate that he's hurt. You think Houston saying that about Durant? I mean, the list goes on and on there with all the injuries.
Yep. And we saw it again with Embiid out again last night, and the Sixers without him lose 108-102. They get outscored 19-12 in the fourth quarter. Some ugly basketball, turnovers, a bazillion missed threes. I mean, a 19-12 quarter is just not what we want to see in the NBA. And with the game on the line, that's what the Knicks and Sixers delivered. Knicks up 2-0 now.
But actually, I think that's what we see because they try harder in the playoffs. So that doesn't surprise me.
Better defense, more contested shots, lower shooting percentage, all that makes sense.
And pressure.
Throw that in there as well, yes.
I mean, obviously, for Philadelphia to win the series, they've got to win one at least in Madison Square Garden. And that was 6 minutes ago, was a tie ball game. And you go 0 for 10 down the end. The Knicks didn't light it up, but they hit 3 two-pointers, and that was literally the difference.
So now it's the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. Can they go up 2-0? I think we all expect them to. Second game of the Amazon Prime Video doubleheader after the Cavs and the Pistons. Detroit won game 1. See if Cleveland can get game 2 and even this thing up.
Well, if I'm listening for interesting, that's going to be a far more interesting series, I would anticipate, and a far more interesting game. I realize that Cleveland's down 1-0, but I don't put anybody who's down 1-0 as far as being the tournament is over by any stretch. I don't view that. Or the tournament. I don't know why I said tournament, but playoff series. And so with that in mind, that I want competition. I want stuff that I don't know what's going to happen. I want the games when I watch them to find out rather than, I expect this team to win easily. That doesn't really entertain me. Unless it's my team that I'm rooting for, then we all want our team to kick crap out of whoever they're playing. I get that. But I think that the Cleveland and Detroit, in my mind, that's a toss-up.
Jaylen Brown says he hopes to remain with the franchise long term. Despite comments from Tracy McGrady that Brown has a frustration that lies deeply within the Boston organization. My emphasis added there. Brad Stevens downplaying any perceived rift, so you think that was just frustration after getting knocked out after a weird season and it'll all be smoothed out? Or big name on the move?
If I were him, I would just look to run it back and have my trust in Stevens to make the team better and to see which ways they do that. I mean, Boston, you're a legendary franchise. You've won a title. Doesn't seem like those types of players ask out of Boston.
That'd be unusual. I'm with you. NHL playoffs, former Mammoth Josh Doan with the opening goal, assisting on the second goal. The Sabres jump out in front 2-0 and beat Montreal 4-2 in their second-round series opener. At Anaheim and Vegas, Anaheim wins 3-1. Ducks and Golden Knights now tied at a game apiece after 2 games in Vegas. They're going to Anaheim. So it'll be Carolina and Philly tonight on TNT, while the basketball is on Amazon with a doubleheader there. Salary cap is climbing as expected, $104 million, $8.5 million increase. Maybe that's a little more. The Mammoth, we're going to have $14 million. Now it looks like they're going to have just a little under 15, maybe 14.8, something like that. Money for Bill Armstrong to work with and see how they can improve the team and get to 100 points to go deeper in the playoffs and ratchet everything up.
Yeah, this is where management really takes over. During the season, it's the team, the players, the coach. But management now, the offseason, they're the ones responsible for putting as best a product as you can put on there. And then to see what they think of these youngsters, at what level are they ready, and who needs more seasoning, so to speak, there. That's what is going to be fascinating. I mean, they've pumped up these names now, right, for the 2 years, basically, since they've been in town. And how far away are these youngsters, and when are they going to be here? And then when they get here, how good they're going to be.
We talked a lot of college football playoff this morning. Do you want a 16-team tournament? Do you want 24? It really feels like the momentum is moving against the conference title games, PK, and that the only way to get rid of them is to generate more cash. So no matter what we want, cash is king, money talks, and I suspect we're going to end up with a 24-team tournament. That seems to be what the money's pointing towards, and I assume they're going to follow the money.
But at what expense? I mean, you could make more money here, but make not as much money over there. And does that become a wash? I don't know that everything is going up automatically just simply by adding more teams, because if that's the case, then make it a 32-team tournament. At what point does it backfire on you? And the regular season in college football is something special. You got to be careful not to ruin that, not to dent that, not to make that far less. And the more you go in terms of total teams in the playoff, the more you can say, well, this regular season, who really cares? And then I've got some hot shots, and they sit out the Rose Bowl. Well, if they sat out the Rose Bowl, why wouldn't they sit out game 10, 11, or 12, knowing that there's going to be a game 13, and if you win, there's going to be a game 14 and 15. So they got to be careful on that, And Yormark talked about that very thing, the unintended consequences, when he did his press conference at the Cowboys Stadium before the Cougars took on Texas Tech And I think that's something that needs to be certainly thoroughly thought through. That's why I would like to see, I'm not against change, but you got to be careful. And it seems to me it would be more logical just to bump it up 4, go to 16 first, and see how that works, and see what it does. And can you replace the conference title Friday and Saturday with the first rounders then? How is that received? That would be my thought.
I suspect if we stay at 16, we'll still have conference title games, and they'll try to wedge it all in because they just don't think they can replace the money adding that would that be 4 more games. I don't know that they can get that out. And that might happen. That might be the way it goes. I mean, that's what the SEC is trying to make. And I guess the way they set up these rules, for whatever rules are worth these days, they'll default to 16. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work as they stick their head together. But I think the most money, and you're right, unintended consequences, are out there. Will things go the way we think and we predict? I would have never predicted going to 12. I always thought, well, the champion is going to be somewhere in that 4-team tournament. And it's true, Indiana was the champion, and they would have been in a 4-team tournament. But the runner-up, who gave them their best game, and Miami was they were ranked 10th by the selection committee. They were well up the track, but they ended up providing a lot of good football.
Okay, but you can say that about – does the NBA need 16 teams?
Nope.
I mean,
they do not. The champion, if it were an 8-team tournament, the champion would be in it. How does the champion come from 5, 6, 7, 8 seed? Well, like I mentioned earlier, there was a Rocket team that was a 6 seed, but that's to your point about, well, they knew they were going to be in. Would they have dropped to 6 if the format hadn't allowed it? They probably would have found a way to get themselves to 4 and get in.
Right. I just wonder how the public is going to receive the end of the season if they hold players out because, well, we're in. We only have 2 losses. We know we're in.
You got to get our running back, our quarterback, our defensive end healthy for the game, the playoff game.
Right, and your quarterback at Ohio State is banged up, and it's Michigan, and you basically give in to a sense on that game
because you know,
you're in, and you don't have to worry about it, and you got a game either literally the next week or whatever the format holds.
Yeah.
Or they keep players out of the conference title game. The Michigan game might be maybe that'd be an uproar, but then you keep them out of the conference title game because it doesn't matter. And if you're seeded 4th or 8th or what have you, maybe it doesn't matter to you. I don't know what those circumstances would be, but I just think they got to make sure that the public doesn't reject that, and then it becomes a blowback because you got a really good thing going. And you want to make it better. You don't want to make it worse, obviously.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the coaches all push for it because, of course, more berths, they can declare success in that. And, do people want to watch Tennessee and USC and Illinois? And I don't know, I'm probably leaving somebody else out. Who had pretty good seasons. There are 9, 10-win teams in there. That's pretty good. You're doing that in the SEC and the Big Ten, but they're not in the playoff. Now maybe at 16 they would be. At 24 they definitely would be.
Right. Oh, for sure.
How many Big 12 would get in? Not that the Big 12 is going to have a say in what this looks like. I'm pretty much going to have to sign off on it. All right, we'll do it. But whatever it looks like.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker. I'm going to watch probably either way. So count me in. You've hooked me in. Maybe that'll change. Who knows? When I'm 75 years old, I don't know. Who's to say? Who's to say I even make 75? Because odds are I'm not going to make 75, as you know.
I don't know that. You just present that as fact. That's just your theory.
I said odds are. Once you indicate the words odds are, you are inviting that the odds that are against it actually become a fact. Hear the words and figure out the meanings as I say them. See, I purposely said odds are. I did not say I will be dead at 75. I said odds are. Get an education in the English language and what words mean. Sheesh.
I ain't doing that.
Nice. I mean, sometimes
between or among my many options.
And Yacht can appreciate this, but sometimes the stuff you say, it's just god-awful.
No, it's truly. You got to put the truly in front of it.
Okay.
Remember the quote, PK. Listen to the words I say.
I just heard the two preposterous words, one in particular. I thought, wow. Is this guy, is he imbibing
it was,
while we're
it
not
was
working?
a trio that got me. No, I'm not. Just quoting the guest, that was stunning to me.
You're really a pain in the ass. You know that, right? I just want to be clear.
And I appreciate that compliment, by the way.
All right. You're welcome. All right, your feedback is coming up next. All the stuff you've got to say about 24 or 16-team playoffs. We'll get to that. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Feedback of the day brought to you by Half Price Granite. Transform your outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. $25 per square foot installed. Visit halfpricegranite.com. Lots of people weighing in on the playoff and what it should look like, and there is no consensus. We might as well have conference commissioners here, PK. The people are all over the map.
Yeah.
Too many. Should be 16. Derek doesn't even want to hear about 24.
No.
Way too many, Nate says. Football's great because every game matters. Not so much with 24 teams.
Yeah.
But Captain Cody says I'm fine with 24 as long as I don't drag it out until February. I think we have consensus there. January 1st is either going to get semifinals or the championship game. I suspect it'll get semis, but I think we're done with the quarters and all these games in January. They want to tighten that up.
DJ, good news.
What?
What's that?
You have talked, I don't know, for a long time about, moving college football games elsewhere in the world because you can play them and obviously have the extra game.
Yep.
You've talked about one going to Canada. That's going to happen in 2027. Syracuse,
Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal? Who got it?
Syracuse and Wake Forest will be playing at BMO Field in Toronto, Canada.
Yep. Just a matter of time. I think BYU would pack Vancouver if they did a game up there.
How about Vancouver, Washington? Would they pack that?
Yes, they would.
No stadium in Vancouver, Washington, PK, so that's a problem. And it's continental U.S. because that's just across the Columbia River from Portland. So made that drive. Hop, skip, and a jump.
I've eaten in Vancouver, Washington.
That a kid. David says, let's hypothesize, shall we? We're the 24, but he has we. Is WE''RE. I'm used to lose and loose, but
oh, that's probably a spell check thing. That does that on my phone.
All right, we'll take that as a spell check then, David.
Yeah.
Let's just go with if. I'll just if the 24 teams are in fact last season for the chance that BYU and Utah would have been in a playoff. Yeah, I'm for it. It works spectacularly at the FCS level. I find no reason or downside why that same style of playoff wouldn't work at the P4 level. So 24, sign them up. Is there more parity at the P4 level? I suppose not, the way the Dakota schools win. I was going to say, I wonder if there was, because there's less differentiating in scholarships and NIL money and all that.
I get your point. I think that's a point well taken, yeah.
Yeah. And having said that, the same teams seem to be dominant every year,
because some teams have advantages that others don't.
Right, not playing in the shadow
right.
of NAU is recruiting Arizona. Yeah, but the best kids are going to ASU and U of A and then elsewhere in Texas and California and wherever else across the country.
Right.
Whereas the Dakotas and the Montanas don't have anybody looking over their shoulder.
Right. We know that.
Yep.
Although that's all changing. That's all changing, man. In September of 26, the purple, back the purple because they going places. I'm talking Weber State.
I like the way you think. That'll be a story. We're intrigued.
Yes. They're going to get it done.
I'm so glad they made that hire, no matter how it works out. Good, bad, middle ground, whatever. I'm glad they made that hire. It's very interesting.
Well,
you and I both think it's going to work, but there's no doubt it's interesting.
The only question, is it a regular A or an A+?
There it is. So you got them to the quarterfinals. You just don't know about the semi or the title game?
Well, I don't know about the first year. I mean, come on. Jay Hill needed a year.
Yep. Yeah.
And he did an incredible
I think he
job.
Didn't he have a bad year, an okay year, and then year 3 blew up and just went, then he was off. And it was off to the races. It was just conference titles and NCAA tournament every year.
Right.
I can't remember if that was his second or third year.
I thought it was second, but I'd have to go back and check. So, but Weber State, man, buy your tickets now, you folks up in Ogden.
Lute Olson quote coming. All right, DJ and PK, that's about going to do it for us here today. Reminder, wherever you get your podcasts, if you want NBA Draft Talk, if you want spring football tour through Kansas, you can listen. Matt Tate covering the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports joined us at 8:30. Matt Babcock from covering the NBA and NBA draft analyst for Babcock Hoops, as you pointed out. The whole that's a family affair, right?
Yes.
Extended family working on that.
Yep.
So all about the top picks in the draft. You can check those out wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, KSLSports.com, Apple, Spotify, wherever. They're all available. The whole show is available out there. So if you missed anything, you can go back and check it out. Listen at your convenience.
We're going to hear an open mic before you send us off into Never Never Land.
What do we have?
So this came in from Nick. He goes off your guys' conversation earlier this morning about who they should send to the NBA draft lottery. Here you go.
Okay.
Why not send the Jazz Bear? Probably be bad for TV and get an interview, but let's send the Jazz Bear. Has anybody ever sent a mascot?
More mascots.
I don't know if anybody has sent
Be kind of fun.
A mascot.
He could shoot his little pyrotechnic stuff at different people and.
Yeah.
Oh, win or lose.
Yeah. Bam.
The question is, if you win, you shoot it up into the ceiling and it all drops
Otherwise,
down.
you're shooting it at.
If you lose, you just shoot it right at the commissioner.
Yeah.
He take a silly string and just spray random
Yeah, if
people.
they're drafting
Silly
sixth or
string for the
something.
commissioner. I like it.
Hey, Silver, here you go.
Boom.
They could do that. The NBA could do, because football's done that thing with Nickelodeon, and they put all the graphics and the bizarro stuff when teams score or turn the ball over or whatever. NBA could do that 1 year with the draft lottery. Just every team represented by a mascot. It could be total chaos.
It'd be fun.
All right. We're all done. Jake and Ben are coming up at 2. That was an old habit right there. Scotty G and Tim Lacombe, the coach, on the way next right here in the Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.